the one that I think most illustrates the subtle ways in which the media infects the way we think, is this one. Because so many people who would ordinarily know much better and have quite a clear line on things are absolutely persuaded that Harry and Meghan are the wrong uns, and that the royal family as it is, or Kate and William, or even Andrew Windsor, that they're the good guys. It's extraordinary, and it hasn't happened by accident. It is the best example, with the possible exception of Brexit, it is the best example of media gaslighting that I have witnessed in my life.
As James O'Brien said, oftentimes the British media tries to persuade us that Harry and Meghan are the wrong ones. It twists and twists the narrative while their counterparts, the royal family, are busy erasing history. But we know the truth. We will never forget. We are the carriers of history. From her early days as an actress on the hit TV show Suits to her high-profile marriage to Prince Harry, Meghan's journey has been nothing short of extraordinary. A successful actress, she found love with Prince Harry. Their relationship blossomed in the public eye, capturing the hearts of millions. The couple's love story was a beacon of hope and romance, a modern-day fairy tale that promised a happily ever after. The world watched as Harry and Meghan exchanged vows in a grand royal wedding, a ceremony filled with love, tradition, and a touch of modernity. It was a moment that symbolized unity and the breaking of barriers. But the dream soon turned dark. Behind the scenes, Meghan faced challenges that few could see. The pressures of royal life, combined with the relentless scrutiny of the media, began to take their toll. The fairy tale was not as perfect as it seemed. Meghan faced relentless scrutiny from the press and the public. Every aspect of her life was dissected and analyzed. The media's obsession with her was unyielding and insatiable. The media's gaze was intense and unkind. Negative stories and critical headlines became a daily occurrence. Meghan's every move was watched, and her every decision was questioned. The scrutiny was not professional, but deeply personal. Headlines criticized her every move, her clothing, and her family. The tabloids were relentless, resorting to sensationalism and half-truths. Meghan's family was dragged into the spotlight, and her personal life became fodder for public consumption. The pressure took a toll on Meghan. The constant criticism and invasion of privacy were overwhelming. The stress and anxiety began to affect her well-being, both mentally and physically. The weight of the world seemed to rest on her shoulders. This video is a reminder of the challenges Meghan faced. It reminds us, dear viewers, of why we fight for Harry and Meghan. It delves into the complexities of her life as a royal and how the royal family was at the forefront, not only failing her, but also feeding her to the wolves. From the moment her relationship with Prince Harry became public, the media's interest in her life was relentless. Every aspect of her existence was put under a microscope, and the scrutiny was unyielding. Even before the royal wedding, tabloids published negative stories about her family and her past. The media seemed intent on digging up any piece of information that could be used to paint her in a negative light. Stories about her estranged family members and her previous relationships were splashed across headlines, creating a narrative that was far from the truth. In his book Spare, Harry writes, "She'd often begin to cry. Why would they say that has? I don't understand. Can they just make stuff up?" Harry went on to write, "Yes, they can, and yes, they do." The scrutiny only intensified after she married Harry. The media's focus shifted to her role within the royal family, and every move she made was analyzed and criticized. From her public appearances to her private moments, nothing was off limits. The pressure was immense, and the constant barrage of negative press began to take its toll. One example is the coverage of her relationship with her father. The media seized on this strained relationship, turning it into a public spectacle. Private conversations and personal letters were leaked, and the narrative was often manipulated to fit a particular agenda. The invasion of privacy was relentless, and the impact on Meghan and her family was profound. Private family matters became public fodder. The media's insatiable appetite for scandal meant that no detail was too small to be exploited. Meghan's attempts to protect her family's privacy were in vain, as the press continued to pry into their personal lives. The British press portrayed Meghan in a negative light. Whether it was her background, her career, or her personality, the media seemed determined to cast her in a negative role. The constant criticism and negative portrayal were not just limited to her actions, but extended to her character and intentions. Another example is the criticism of her fashion choices. Every outfit she wore was dissected and judged, with headlines scrutinizing everything she wore. The media's focus on her wardrobe was relentless, and even her most innocuous fashion choices were turned into points of contention. Headlines scrutinized everything she wore. From her choice of designers to the cost of her clothing, no detail was too small to escape the media's attention. The scrutiny extended to her appearance at public events, where her fashion choices were often compared unfavorably to those of other members of the royal family. The constant negativity took a toll. The relentless criticism and negative press began to affect Meghan's mental and emotional well-being. It's impossible to ignore the racial dynamics at play in Meghan's story. Meghan Markle, a woman of mixed heritage, has faced a unique set of challenges and scrutiny that are deeply rooted in implicit bias. As a biracial woman marrying into the British monarchy, she challenged traditional norms. The British royal family, steeped in centuries of tradition, had never before welcomed someone quite like Meghan. Her presence alone was a statement, a disruption of the status quo that forced many to confront their own prejudices and assumptions. The criticism she faced carried clear racial undertones. These weren't just casual remarks, but pointed critiques that often seemed to question her very right to be part of the royal family. The scrutiny was relentless, and the racial undertones were unmistakable, revealing a discomfort with her breaking of long-standing racial barriers. British media outlets used coded language that perpetuated harmful stereotypes. Words like exotic or difficult were frequently used, subtly reinforcing negative stereotypes about women of color. This coded language was a way to criticize Meghan without overtly mentioning race, yet the implications were clear to those who understood the subtext. They described her as aggressive or difficult. These descriptors are often unfairly applied to assertive women, particularly women of color, who are seen as stepping out of their place. Such language not only undermines Meghan's character, but also perpetuates harmful stereotypes that affect all women of color. These words are often used to describe women of color, particularly Black women. The stereotype of the angry Black woman is a pervasive and damaging trope that has been used to silence and marginalize Black women for generations. Meghan's experience is a high-profile example of how these stereotypes continue to be weaponized. The use of such language revealed a deeper bias. It wasn't just about Meghan. It was about a societal discomfort with seeing a woman of color in a position of power and influence. The online world was even crueler. Social media platforms, with their anonymity and lack of accountability, became breeding grounds for some of the most vicious attacks. The vitriol directed at Meghan was not just about her actions or decisions, but was deeply personal and often racially charged. Meghan was subjected to racist and sexist abuse on social media. The comments ranged from overtly racist slurs to more insidious forms of harassment that questioned her character and motives. The attacks were relentless and deeply hurtful, highlighting the very real consequences of online harassment. It is clear that the media holds Meghan to different standards than other members of the royal family. She is criticized for things that other royals do without consequence. This double standard reveals a clear gender bias. To the British media, Kate Middleton is the perfect princess, and Meghan is the difficult duchess. Meghan is labeled as difficult for expressing her opinions, being confident, venturing into business, and advocating for causes she believes in. These are qualities often celebrated in men, but seen as threatening in women. Could sexism be any more obvious? And that is not all. Meghan has been blamed for Harry's hair loss. What? She has been criticized for wearing hair extensions. Show me where there is a rule against hair extensions, and I will show you multiple women who have broken it. Meghan has been accused of not being Archie and Lilibet's birth mother. Some have gone as far as claiming that the children do not exist. And the irony of all, the trolls are constantly demanding Meghan to share the photos of her kids with the media. I thought they said they do not exist. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. I could go on and on. The British media has constructed a narrative that ensures that the world knows, once and for all, that Meghan is bad news, that she isn't confident or self-assured, but rather arrogant and cocky, that she is not a woman's woman, that she is the difficult duchess. It has backfired, though. All of those ridiculous headlines about Meghan's so-called bad behavior have done nothing more than prove that the British media is afraid of her. And that, in my opinion, has made her powerful. As James O'Brien said at the beginning of the video, the British media's portrayal of Harry and Meghan is the best example of media gaslighting. And this is why we fight for Meghan. Thank you for watching.